Well, hey guys, backyard scrapping here. Today we are actually going to try this little experiment with Steve's pins. I've actually got some HCl warming up right here. I have to get a few more things together, and then we're going to give this a go and see how it works out. I've never done this method before, but what we're actually going to try to do is strip the gold off of these gold-plated pins without, completely dissolving the pins. We're just going to try and recover the gold, not, try to dissolve all the base metal, so it doesn't take so long. So I'm actually going to heat up some HCl here. Like I said, I got to get a few more things together. This is actually going to be kind of like a poor man's aqua regia. My buddy that I told you, in previous videos that I save all my stuff for, came up with this little concoction. So we are actually going to try and see if we can get this gold to come off without having to dissolve all the metal. Because normally when you dissolve something in aqua regia, or when you're dissolving, a mix of metals, your gold is usually the last thing that goes in the solution. So what we're actually going to try here today is to get it to come off first, dissolve, go into the solution, and leave the base metals behind. So let me get the rest of my stuff together and we'll be right back at you. Okay guys, we're back. Actually, like I said, we're going to be using this little concoction that my buddy made. In the comments below, don't ask me what it is, because I don't know. I know it is similar. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the same effect that you get when you're using nitric acid and sulfuric acid to basically get a like when we're trying to take the silver plate off of silver plated material. You actually use the nitric acid and sulfuric acid, and it leaves the base metal behind and strips the silver. So that's actually what we're going to be trying here, but we're going to be trying it with gold. So let me get this stuff in here. Our beakers are getting hot. I know we started with about 179 grams of material. I've separated magnetics from non-magnetics. I'm not necessarily going to worry about which one's which right now, or the weights. We're just going to get this stuff in here. We are going to be creating NOx gas, so you want to be very careful. You want to make sure you've got your fans on, or have a back fan on, or something going, because we are definitely going to be creating some noxious fumes. So, okay guys, we've actually let this heat up pretty good. What we're doing here, like I said, is actually going to be a type of it's actually going to be a kind of poor man's AR. I just don't know exactly what his what he's doing here, or what his chemical process is that he's using. I know I've done something similar to this with silver, using sulfuric and nitric acid, but we have basically some little pearls here that he has done. He said it's going to be kind of the same thing as a poor man's aqua regia. So let's just start with that little bit for starters. Stir that up. Let's see what kind of a reaction we get. I'm actually going to move this camera to one side. I don't want to put too much of this in because I don't know what we're going to get yet. So I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit, get it moved over so we can see both of the beakers, and we're going to just let this stuff do its thing. So we'll be back at you shortly. Okay guys, we're back. We're into this for a few minutes now. I'm not seeing a strong reaction, but I am starting to see a color change in the solution. It actually looks to me like gold is going into solution. We're getting a little bit more reaction over here. As you can see, that actually changed color right before our eyes. So we're going to let this continue on. See what happens. I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing. I mean, I don't completely understand how it's working yet because I don't know exactly what his little concoction is, but I know this one's working faster, so I'm going to presume that this is, I think this was our non-magnetics over here, and we're definitely getting a much faster reaction there. But anyway, you can see that's just going fast, but we're not getting a powerful, you know, a violent reaction that I expected we would get. So we're just going to let it play out. We're going to see what happens, and I'm going to go make up some fresh stannous, and or go get some fresh stannous, and we're going to let this stuff work, and we're going to see if we get any gold in solution without having to look at that color change. Did you see that just change back? Look at that. That was amazing. It just went boom, went from dark to light instantly right before our eyes. Glad I didn't shut down yet. That's really cool. I have absolutely no idea, like I said, what his little concoction is, but it's really making some cool reactions. So let me go get some stannous chloride, and we're going to let this go for a little bit, and then we're going to see what happens with it. So we will be back at you guys in a bit. Alrighty guys, we are back. Actually, where we saw that left beaker go completely clear and come back, and then shortly after I turned the camera off, that right beaker did exactly the same thing. We are generating some NOx gas right now, so I'm going to keep my distance from this. And like I said, we're going to let it run its course. We're going to see what it does. We're going to see if we strip the gold with it, you know, without having to dissolve all the metal. So it is kind of a poor man's AR thing. I don't know, like I said, exactly what we're doing, but we are starting to get a strong reaction in both of the beakers now. So let's just let them run and do their thing, and we'll get back at you in a bit. Okay guys, we're back. It actually might be a little hard to hear me because I do have my mask on. This does look like some of it has been stripped off. It looks to us that we have a little bit more in here yet. So I'm going to let it continue to do its thing. It's a little more potent than I expected it to be. I'm actually going to go ahead and probably put a little bit more in there because this one has actually kind of stopped a little. So, and that one is slowing down. So I am going to put a touch more of this stuff in here and see what happens. And we'll go from there. So let's see what we get. And I'm just guesstimating. I'm just doing a little bit of this at a time because I'm not exactly sure how much we can do. I have done poor man's AR in the past, but this just seems to be a much more potent reaction. So that one's activating again. We're just going to let them go. This one has pretty much very hot, pretty much slowed to a stop. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more. I'm seeing foils floating. I mean, if it's for separating foils, it's working pretty good. But it's actually supposed to be putting gold into solution. So let me throw another
another little bit of it in here and see what we got. See what goes on, right? We'll all learn together. I'm seeing a lot of foils over here. So I may have to make a quick little phone call and find out if it's to strip the foils or dissolve the gold. I was under the impression we were actually going to be putting the gold into solution. So let me get back with you guys in just a bit and we'll see where we're at.
Okay guys, what I'm seeing here is basically a lot of foils floating. So I'm going to try and get a little sample here and see if we can see if there's any gold in solution. It's going to be hard to tell because this solution is very dark, but I am just going to try a little bit of it, see what happens. I do see, like I said, a lot of foils. Maybe that's what this is supposed to do, is just strip the foils. I thought it was supposed to dissolve the gold. But let me see what we got here. Okay, so I am not seeing any gold in solution. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and filter this. And what we're going to do is hit it again. And see how much gold we get out of this. So I'm not going to put you through that filtering process. I'm going to just go ahead and filter these off, rinse them, and see what we got going on. So I'll get back at you in just a bit. Okay guys, I just wanted to bring you in on this real quick. What I'm seeing here in the non-magnetics, it looks like it's stripping the foils pretty good. Now I didn't get any gold in solution, so maybe I misunderstood exactly how this is used. Now it's also doing the same thing with the magnetics, but it doesn't seem to be quite as effective as it is on the non-magnetics. You can see in here I'm just filtering this off, and then what I'm going to actually do is pour this back in there, and I'm going to keep rinsing that till I get the foils, the foils cleaned completely out of this beaker. And we may have to hit it again because I'm still seeing a little bit of gold, but it was pretty effective on the non-magnetics as far as stripping the foils really rapidly, without the use of nitric acid. So I mean, I've got basically 200 mils of hydrochloric acid in here, and about maybe 2 teaspoons of that concoction over there, and it pretty much seemed like it took almost all the foils off of the non-magnetic, or probably copper or brass based pins, whatever they are. So I'm going to continue to let this do this. Like I said, it doesn't seem to be working as well on the magnetics. We may have to hit them again, but there's actually foils in there. I tested both solutions. Both of them show negative to stannous, so it's not putting the gold into solution, but it is stripping the foils off. Okay guys, I did hook up the vacuum filter for the magnetics, and I do want to show you, I know you can see in there that a lot of the foils have been stripped off. And I think what this process entails is running this, in other words, filtering it off, pouring this liquid back in, letting it do its job, pouring it off, and so on and so forth. You see we also have quite a bit of foils in our our non-magnetics, but you can see the foil showing up in there. I mean, it's actually stripped them off pretty good. So I'm going to just continue doing this. What I'm going to do is filter it off. Let me shut this vacuum off. What I'm going to do is filter this off, pour the fluid back in here, maybe add a little bit more hydrochloric acid. Like I said, this is an experiment. I'm going to do the same thing here with this material. As I keep putting it in, I'm getting more foils. The trick is you want to use your solution that you're filtering as your catch, or as your water, or your rinse water. That way you're not going to keep creating more and more and more waste doing this. Because this is one of the things that I have said about when you start rinsing things, you start creating a lot of waste. And you can see we actually even have a little bit of NOx gas buildup in there. So I got to keep checking it. I've been checking it over and over and over. We don't have any gold in solution. So I'm just going to continue to keep doing this, and we're going to see what we end up with. I mean, I'm only a couple hours in right now of a project that would already probably have taken 2 weeks, you know, or maybe longer. So I'm going to just keep doing this. I'll keep checking our fluid. If we get some gold solution in fluid, we'll filter it out and we'll drop it out with SMB. But as it stands right now, it looks to me like this stuff is stripping the foils off pretty darn good. So I'm pleased with that. And I'm going to keep going. We're going to see what we end up with, and then that'll determine if, you know, if this was actually better to do it this way. I mean, time-wise, obviously it is, but so we're just going to have to see what our yield turns out to be. But anyway, I'll keep popping in from time to time. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over, dumping the solution back into the beakers and rinsing it until we get all the foils out, and then do a final cleanup on it. So we'll be back at you in a bit. Probably no need in me doing anything till we get to that point again. So it may be a while. It'll be a while for me. It won't be for you. So we'll see you in just a bit. Okay, guys, I just wanted to pop in real quick and just show you. There may be a speck or two left in there, which I'll hit it one more time again. But for the most part, we are left with our base metal and our foils are removed. There looks like maybe 2 pins down in there in the bottom, and one little, looks like a battery, laptop battery holder that's got a little bit of, let me see if I can point to it. It's got a little bit of gold left on it, maybe, or it's brass. But that doesn't look like it's corroded at all, so I'm not thinking there's anything left there. But basically, it's 99% of our material is stripped off. So the process does work. I guess I had it backwards. I thought it would dissolve the gold, but it actually just strips it off. So, hey, I mean, that's a good thing. So I'm going to continue on, and we'll get back to you when we are ready to put our foils in aqua regia and our filters in aqua regia and dissolve this stuff and see what we end up with. So we'll be back at you in a bit. Okay, guys, we've got our hot plate on. I've got me a, I don't know, maybe 50 mils or so of hydrochloric acid in this beaker. Like I said, I just wanted to use this beaker to do this because I know there's some gold particles left in it. We are going to go ahead and add some nitric acid, and we are going to start dissolving this gold. And like I said, I am really hoping for 0.2 grams. That would be absolutely fantastic. It would tell me that that we actually can do this much faster. Like I said earlier, though, it is hands-on. It's a lot of work. You have to stick with it and stay with it while you're doing it. You can't just dump it in a bucket and go. I mean, because you got to watch it and you got to keep an eye on it. I tested it throughout the process. I never had any gold go into solution. So we're just gonna go ahead and dissolve this stuff up. We're gonna filter it off, and we're gonna see what we got. Okay, guys, we're just popping back in for a second. I already filtered this once, and then I denoxed it with sulfamic acid to drop out any lead or anything like that. And we are actually running it through the filter again. The first filter was a little bit cloudy, and it's actually coming out really good and clear this time. So we're going to get this filtered out, then we're going to get set up to do our drop. And it looks like out here in the field we're fixing to get a nice little thunderstorm. So anyhow, we'll be back in just a bit. We'll get this set up and do our drop, see what we get. Okay, guys, we are ready to do our drop. I'm not expecting a monstrous drop here, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot to see what happens. It may take a while because there's probably very little gold in here. Okay guys, about 10 minutes has gone by. We're actually starting to get a drop. There's not going to be very much gold in this, I can tell you right off the bat just by looking. So I'm just going to leave it sit. Okay guys, it is the next morning. We did get a drop. It looks like we got a decent little amount. I'm not, positive how much is in here. Like I said, we're hoping for between 0.15 and 2 grams or 0.2 grams of gold, because that would be about the same thing that we would have got if we would have done it the regular way. But we did it in a few hours, about 4 or 5 hours it took me. And like I said yesterday, it is really a hands-on process. It's not going to be like just dumping it in a in a container and leaving it sit until everything's gone and filtering it off. I mean, this, you got to kind of stay with it and work with it. But again, we're looking at a couple days in total by the time it's done versus anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff cleaned up, get this fluid siphoned off of it, get it rinsed. Then we're going to get it in a dish and melt it, and we're going to see what we ended up with. Okay guys, we are down to the wire. Being that this powder was so fine, what I actually did was I just did it in a slow filter paper, and we're just going to wrap up the entire filter paper and just burn it off. So I'm just going to fold this all up. You don't want to squeeze it too much. We're going to stick it down here in the bottom of our little hoop-de-doo here. We're going to cover it up with some, now we can squeeze it to get it in there good. And then we're going to put a bunch of borax on it. We're going to cover it up. And then we're going to get our torch set up, and we're going to burn this off and see what we ended up with. So I will get right back at you. Okay guys, we are set to go. First thing I'm going to use is kind of a low flame just to burn off this filter paper. And then we will see what we ended up with here. Hopefully we got what I was expecting, because that would make this experiment a plus and worthwhile, and it would also save a lot of time. I don't know how easy it's going to be to do this particular type of recovery with large batches of pins, because I just don't know until I try it. Like I said, it's a lot of hands-on work. You have to stay with it. You can't just put it in there and walk away. You got to kind of hang there and keep adding a little bit here and there, and it's just, granted, it saves a lot of time, but it also makes a lot of work for that day or two that you're gonna do it. So I'm just gonna hush up now and go ahead and get this burned off and get it melted, and we'll get back to you as soon as I'm done. Okay guys, the tiny piece of gold I'm seeing in here probably wasn't even worth our effort. Let's see if I can get it out. Can't see right now because I have a spot in my eye from the torch, but I think that's it. And very, 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 very disappointed. Very disappointed. Let me put this in the pickle pot and let me get back with you guys in just a bit, okay? Okay, guys, as you heard outside, I was quite disappointed with this. I figured the least we should get out of that would have been about 0.15 grams. Because, like I said, out of similar material that we got from Les, Les got about 0.4 grams or 0.43 grams, so this was a little less than half of what Les's batch was. I still have actually a little tiny piece of borax on here that I'm trying to get off, but this thing is so small I can't get a hold of it. Anyhow, I'm going to weigh this and we're going to see what we ended up with. I know the gold the little bead of gold is pure. I mean, it wasn't enough there for me to re-refine it in the powder, but I know the little bead of gold is pure, as I can tell by the color, but we should have got a lot more than that. I mean, I'm going to weigh this. Like I said, I got to be careful with it, because if I keep messing with it, it's going to go flying somewhere and I'll never find it. But what I am going to do is, I almost did it right there, so I'm just going to stop and quit messing with it, see what it weighs. I am going to, because Steve let me do this experiment on his pins, I am going to get 0.2 of a gram of gold from my stock, or out of my gold, and I'm going to send him a 0.2 of a gram piece of gold, because I don't know where it went. I know I tested the solutions. There was no gold in solution. There was, you saw the foils on the sheets. Now, either that was really, really, really low carat gold, or or I don't even know. I don't know. I just don't know. I never expected to get this little tiny thing. This is about 1/4 of what I expected. It is 0.05 grams. It's bouncing back and forth between 0.5 and 0.6. So 0.05. I expected 0.15 or 0.2. So we got 4 times less than we expected. Like I said, I don't understand it, because I actually, we got a drop. There was a pretty good little amount of powder in there. None of the ash blew out when I was melding it. And this is what we got. I mean, in relative size to a dime, there it is. I mean, that's basically nothing. 0.05. Gold is 2,000 an ounce. Divided by 31.1 equals $64 a gram, times 0.05 grams equals $3.21 worth of gold. I used 800 milliliters of not nitric acid, but hydrochloric acid, so that didn't even cover our acid. Almost used a liter of acid. A liter of acid is about, figure it's $10 a gallon, $5. I used about $5 worth of hydrochloric acid, plus several filter papers, plus that other chemical. So evidently this is not the way to do it, guys. I guess I'm going to have to just, if you want to send me pins, you're looking at a few months before you're going to get anything back. So, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not, I don't use sulfuric acid. I don't use, a stripping bath with sulfuric acid. I don't like doing that. I don't like sulfuric acid, so I do it the old slow way. So anyway, Steve, I appreciate you letting me do the experiment. I am going to return also these 3 little laser goobers because they were iron, and I didn't want anything screwing anything up on this experiment, and I didn't want to put iron in there, so I'm going to return those to you. I'm going to go find you another 0.15 grams of gold, and I'm going to meld it together, and I'm going to send that back to you as well, brother. I appreciate it. I'm sorry we didn't get more than we did, but I'm going to have to stick with the old way of doing pins. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Our experiment actually was a bust, but now I know. So that's what we need to know. That's what we needed to know. We're not going to be doing that way. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Everybody stay safe out there.